What did Zelensky think was going to happen? He hits 20% of the Russian refineries, and what? Putin's going to send him a fruit basket and thank you note? Russia's going to collapse anytime soon because the refineries. No.
Wondering when is it going to end? So why to say it in the first place?
Because
anyway?
they know people are stupid.
We have Wagner in Mali, by the way. And
You might,
probably...
you might, I don't.
Mali, I mean, it's
You're
open.
Wagner friends.
I'm not friend of Wagner.
He's hot. I love mushrooms. I just, not the happy ones. I love to eat mushrooms. I sent you this one, so I'll do
That several indicators paint an increasingly bleak picture about Russian economy.
Finally, Russia's collapsing. Anybody who continues to describe Russia as a Soviet Union and doesn't know the difference should not be listened to at all. And they're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Natasha and we meet here weekly to discuss local news and global major news. Support us with your likes, by the way, before we start, because it's very important for YouTube algorithm and
comments.
And drop a comment for us if you like what we do. So let's start. Okay, major global news. Today, Guardian reports a new wave of overnight Russian drones and air attacks targeting Ukraine's energy grid and transport hubs. Port facilities in Odessa were damaged and tens of thousands lost power. Ukrainian authorities describe it as one of the most intense barrages in weeks.
Couple of comments here. One, it seems like for the last 6 months, every attack on Ukraine is the most extreme one. So, yeah, they are getting stronger, but they can't all be the most extreme one.
Really? I don't know. Actually, today it was, I think it was last 2 times when I read that it was the most extreme one because they increased the number of drones.
Every day. Literally almost every news report I read says it now.
We read different news.
Well, it says, yeah, I mean, I didn't remember. I read all sources. I read Russian, Middle, Western, British, American, Ukrainian. I even read the Ukrainian ones. I read everything. And there's about 30,000 without power in Odessa. And I did make a TikTok about this and on YouTube too, but basically Zelensky has been hitting the refineries here hard, which of course it's war. I'm not saying, okay, whatever. Anyways, the point is it's understandable. But if he hits the refineries here, Russia has mostly left the energy, it has hit before, but mostly left the energy sector alone and the railways alone in Ukraine. And now today he comes out, he says, it's chaos. What did Zelensky think was going to happen? He hits 20% of the Russian refineries. And what? Putin's going to send him a fruit basket and thank you note? He's going to return the same favor with missiles. What they send to the drones comes back to missiles. And this is the problem where Zelensky, people are like, oh, he's a Churchill. He's not a Churchill. This guy, I don't care which side you're on, Ukrainian or Russian, whatever. Zelensky is not a good military strategist. He is literally playing with fire, and he thinks everybody in the Ukrainian bots like, Russia's going to collapse anytime soon because the refineries. No, Putin's just going to smack you down with missiles. They're going to be without electricity, without railways.
And that's awful, actually, because I have friends who, stay in Kharkov right now, and they lost power too, and winter is coming. And
they took out the power to Belgorod.
Yeah.
And that's why they took out the power to Kharkiv, because the Ukrainians took out the power to Belgorod, so they took out the power out of Kyiv.
It's just awful, this is the worst part, because I see, I have friends who directly experience it in Russia and in Ukraine, and it's just awful to watch it, and I'm wondering, when is it going to end?
I have friends in Western Ukraine too. Ukraine, I mean, they're ones that don't support Russia. And it's just, I don't, the problem is, I saw a guy today and he's like, I'm not pro-Russia, I'm just reporting the news, and Russia is winning. He's like, and y'all get mad at me for reporting the facts, but that's just the facts. When I report, I'm not taking sides in it. I'm just reporting facts, and these are the facts. I don't take any joy in when any civilians on the other side are without power. But if Zelensky's going to hit the power here, what does he expect Putin's going to do?
Yeah.
He's going to do the same thing back.
Putin tried to do this, remember, I think last year or something before winter also.
He did a little bit, but Russia, the thing is, and again, I don't understand that Russia has held back in a lot of areas. Yeah, when it comes to taking the city, they could have taken out the complete energy supply that they wanted. They could have done so much more damage to Western Ukraine. And remember, for a long time, they even left Kyiv alone. And it was only when it got escalated, they're like, okay, start hitting Kyiv again. So Russia has been restrained. I mean, if you want to see what unrestrained looks like, look at Gaza. And for all the abuses you can point out, Russia could be doing that.
We can't compare really to Gaza because, the size of Gaza and the size of Ukraine is completely
But
different.
my point is it's completely indiscriminate in Gaza the way it is. It's like there's no discrimination whatsoever.
Well, Ukrainians probably might debate you right now because there's a lot of actually...
There's a lot of similar things.
I
We've
can't
talked
say
about that.
here.
A lot of that is jamming. A lot of that is anti-missile defenses. I've shown you videos of Ukrainians putting the air defense in the middle of the city, which you don't do. You put it on the outskirts of the city because when you shoot it down, guess where it lands?
Oh, we have also air defense in Moscow that it's inside of the city,
Yeah, there are some.
On the roofs.
Yeah, I know. That's because the Kremlin's right there. But that's meant to be the second defense. Ukrainians are putting them in the center of the city as a first defense. And I don't know if it's because they're short and they can't ring the cities or what. When you shoot something down over the city, guess where it lands? And even if they shot it down, they're like, oh, Putin hit a hospital when it was them shooting it down. Maybe not every time, but an awful lot of the time it's Ukrainians shooting stuff down.
It just made me wonder, recently we saw news that Tomahawks are not going to be sent to Ukraine.
That was never going to happen because the Tomahawks, because of there was a treaty signed in the 1980s, which basically, I don't want to say outlawed, but it made it illegal under treaty to launch these types of strategic missiles from land, from mobile land. You could launch them from missile silos, but not from mobile land-based launchers. So basically all the mobile MLBS, I think is what it's called, mobile land-based launchers were outlawed. And what the U.S. did was they moved them into submarines and ships and airplanes. That's a Tomahawk. A Tomahawk can't be fired from land. And the Ukrainians don't have B-52s, and the Ukrainians don't have submarines, and the Ukrainians don't have battleships. So there's a thing called a Typhoon, which is an experimental version of the Tomahawk, but it's not been deployed yet. It's not even ready. So there's no way to give Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine unless the Americans are going to be firing them directly from their own vehicles. So unless the Americans are going to send a battleship or a submarine in, or send, a big B-52 or B-1 or whatever bombers they call them, Tomahawk, Ukraine can't even have them.
Well, firstly, they say that they're going to send them. Right now, they say that they can't send.
That's because they know people are stupid.
So why just say it in the first place?
Because they know people are stupid.
But you see, they hit Belgorod with HIMARS.
Yeah, well, HIMARS is different. HIMARS is a much shorter range missile.
Yeah, they are, but still, I don't know about these agreements because there are so many agreements that were signed and they were broken anyway.
HIMARS is a much shorter range missile. And I believe, I'd have to verify this, has a much smaller payload as well.
The European Union also, they don't know how to finance Ukraine right now. So you sent me this news yesterday, I think, that they don't know what to do with the Russian frozen assets because they want to use them to fund Ukraine because they have no money basically anymore to support them.
It's not going to happen for a couple of reasons. One is too many European countries. First of all, the European Central Bank came out a couple of days ago and said they want to make the euro a reserve currency. Go ahead and see some funds and see how fast you become a reserve currency. Nobody's going to trust the euro.
Yeah.
Or even dollars in the European clearing system. So Belgium is strongly against this because Euroclear is a Belgium thing.
Yeah,
and they know if it happens, when the crap hits the fan, it's going to come after Belgium, not Kayas. So Belgium's against it. I believe either France is against it. So they're coming with all these ideas that they're going to borrow against it, but they're never going to be able to see it. They can freeze it, but they're not going to be able to seize it. I don't see it happening. And not only that, but there's like $200 or $300 billion, but there's still about 200 billion of foreign assets in Russia. And so Putin basically said, take it. I'll seize all the foreign assets left in Russia.
But Putin also
And it'll be the European companies who pay instead.
Putin kind of slowly nationalizing also foreign companies. Like, look what happened with Danone, how you pronounce it in English, I don't know. They even rebranded right now. He sold it to some, transferred power to some people.
It has happened in some cases already, yes.
So
in a lot of cases, there were companies that left and almost abandoned their assets or fire sale. But there are cases where, yes, it has been essentially nationalized.
So it's happening from both sides, apparently. I don't know.
I don't think they're going to seize the funds. It causes too many problems. It doesn't matter how many people wish for it. Like the 10,000 Tomahawks. Anonymous tweeted, send 10,000 Tomahawks. The U.S., since the 1980s when the Tomahawk was invented, they haven't even produced 10,000 Tomahawks. In the 40 years of the Tomahawk being made, they haven't even made 10,000 of them. They've made around 9,000, and they've used around 5,000 of them in Iraq, Afghanistan, testing, all kinds of things. So the estimates are they only have between 3,000 and 4,000 of them right now. The Navy has most of them. And the Navy's like, we have the right amount. We don't have any to spare. So again,
have you ever thought, like, actually, I had this idea, what will happen if actually they will get this long-range missiles somehow, and they will, I don't know, shoot St. Petersburg, or they will
Oh, it would be a major
shoot
escalation.
Moscow.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how people think, because they don't understand, like, people will just stand up 100%, because that will be personal right now. Like, right now, we don't feel and even St. Petersburg.
Oh, yes.
War is not
People would
here.
be lining up
Definitely to go and serve.
like crazy.
Yeah.
And again, I know people are going to say, well, Russia deserves it. Okay, maybe not.
Maybe,
I didn't understand it's a war. But the point is, from the Ukrainian side, if you make it personal to people here, people in Russia are going to view it like 9/11. People who right now are like, I don't necessarily like it, but hey, I'm not signing up to go to they will sign up in droves. It doesn't be like 9/11, and Ukraine will suffer big time.
Yeah, it'll become personal.
It'll be compared to what's going on now. Ukraine will it'll be the end of it. It'll be the end of it.
Well, people will ask for some huge escalation, definitely, because of like...
Yeah, Ukraine wants NATO in. Ukraine's willing to drag NATO in and start World War III for their own benefit because they're desperate. But they don't realize, Europeans don't realize that what this escalation would mean. But a lot of Ukrainians don't care because they're like, oh, we're losing.
Of course.
So who cares if we screw Germany in the process?
Of course, because they're in the war directly.
And I understand
it affects
that.
everyone.
But a lot of Europeans don't understand that.
I think
they don't understand that.
Listen, they start not to
many of them do.
They start not to like Kaya Kallas. Did you see? You saw this news. You sent me them. That they start to wonder, like, what? Or I sent you. I don't remember.
Yeah.
That they start to wonder, should they replace her or something because she's too much? It's like not.
I mean, that was a propaganda-ish Twitter account, but they basically took it from a foreign policy article.
Yeah. That's
that
what
came
I
out
checked
yesterday.
too.
So the root of it was generally true. They reworded it a little bit, but the quotes and things came from the foreign policy article. Yeah, they're getting sick of Kaya's running her mouth. I described it today on one of my videos or Twitter or somewhere. That it's like, imagine you're in a minefield and your executive off, your XO, your commanding officer, is an epileptic crackhead with a map and you're in a minefield. That's Kaya Kayas. I don't care, again, if you're for Ukraine or not. The point is, Kaya Kayas is not the level head that Europe needs right now.
Yeah, she can be a speaker, she can be whatever.
But not the head diplomat.
But not that head diplomat. That's the point.
There are leveler heads in Europe. Even Macron and Starmer. Yeah, they're you're not going to find people more pro-Ukraine. Macron and Starmer are very pro-Ukraine. But they're still at least generally level-headed about stuff. Kaya Kayas is not.
Because it's
Kaya Kallas. Sorry, I was Kaya Kallas.
That. So I just read news. Israel and Hamas have reached a preliminary agreement on the first phase of a U.S. brokered peace plan. It reportedly included prisoners exchange, humanitarian corridors, and a limited troop pullback. So Washington calls it a framework for de-escalation. Do you believe? Or is it's like Trump wants to get his Nobel Prize? So it's like they've made push some money for Hamas, and guys, let's do this. We just need some peace for right now. So I'm going to get my prize.
I have not read the details yet. So all I can really say is I don't know. I'll try and remain hopeful that this is a step forward. But with Netanyahu in charge, I kind of doubt it. Just because I criticize Netanyahu does not mean I like Hamas.
Yeah.
Okay, but the point is, Netanyahu is like Kaya Kayas with nukes. Okay?
Well, he's nationalist. That's definitely true. There are different opinions in Israel even regarding...
And again, I've mentioned this many times. I have no problem with Israel. I believe Israel has a right to exist. But Netanyahu is a problem.
Hamas too, actually.
Yeah.
It's
But everybody knows that.
conflict.
Everybody knows that's a problem. Okay, except for a few. There's no dispute that but there are a lot of people who think Netanyahu, especially in Israel, and he's not. He's a very dangerous, not level-headed person, and the Israelis have better people than him.
Yeah, they have a position, huge one, but when a lot of people protested him, and a lot of people protested when he went to attack Gaza back then. Israel is not also monolith with only one opinion, by the way, but we usually hear the loudest. United Nations will cut about a quarter of its peacekeeping personnel worldwide, roughly 13 to 14,000 troops, citing U.S. budget pressure and shift towards smaller advisory missions. The reductions will affect operations in Mali, Congo, and South Sudan. It's awful. Sparking concerns about new security vacuums. Who's going to fill these vacuums there right now?
Well, we know who's going to fill it. The people fighting in those areas. And South Sudan is a big problem right now. Mali has an issue, but especially South Sudan is just, that's an area that most Westerners are not really aware of the powder keg that's there and the problem. And it's
These are basically areas where actually everyone fights. We have Wagner in Mali, by the way, and I'm not sure about Congo and South Sudan, but probably
you might, I don't.
No, we know about Mali. I mean, it's
your
open.
Wagner friends.
I'm not a friend of Wagner. I mean, let's just know that they are there. I went to Wagner building here when they were here. Maybe you remember, I even recorded the video there. So yeah, I got in touch with the girl who's actually important. Like she's in charge of their infosphere. So yeah, she's there. All of them shifted from this building here in St. Petersburg to Central Africa, I think they are right now. But they have offices there. So they have like Russian Cultural Center and everything, which is kind of interesting. And Africa has issues, I think also like they had issues with France because they had forces there. And the problem is, it's not that Russians really feeling these gaps right now. There are China there. And China is taking huge control over resources in Africa, in the continent generally. We know that Africa is not the country, so on the continent. So it will be interesting shift, I think, soon. So China is not it's not there militaristically.
Economically, Belt and
Road. So who's gonna protect their business, you know?
Well, China has set up agreements with some of these countries to I don't know if this is the best way to describe it. Let's call them options on military presence.
Of military presence of China?
If need be, if they needed to protect their assets, that there are options to bring military in. They don't want to, but they have the backup plans there.
Or they will sign with Wagner to secure their business.
China has a different approach.
Yeah.
China's is like, as long as we're running okay, we're not going to bring military in, but they're certainly setting it up that if they needed to, that they will come protect some assets in different areas. China's military is getting big and powerful.
But they have no experience. When the last time China actually fought something?
No, you're right. But they're putting a lot of money in the military. I'm just saying, don't underestimate them in the next 5 or 10 years.
They do, yeah. It's obvious also in development of AI and drones production is insane. Angela Merkel.
Oh, the Russian spy. She was the hero of Europe until this week, and now she's Putin's BFF.
Yes, former German chancellor argued that Baltic and Polish resistance to her proposed European Union-Russia dialogue in 2021 closed the last window for diplomacy before the war in Ukraine. So Poland's ex-Prime Minister Morawiecki called her statement as an insult to Ukrainians, while Latvia's officials said Merkel still hasn't learned from her mistakes.
No, she's spot on. She's a realist. And like me, and like I said, like Mearsheimer and Sachs, when people speak the truth, even if they're not taking a particular side, if the truth is unpopular, first thing to do is call them pro-Russian or a Kremlin agent. And that's what they're doing to Merkel. She's spot on. She's 100% right. But people don't like what she's saying. So obviously she works for the Kremlin.
But remember, previously she said that actually when they were signing these Minsk agreements, they were not intended to keep them working.
In fact, the French one of the prime ministers or president of France came out. There's a video floating around today where he said the same thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, she's pro-Europe, but she still wanted to pursue a diplomatic solution beyond that. But she took the pragmatic view of let's get what we can, but still try for diplomacy. And now they're basically assassinating her for wanting to dare to try diplomacy. But it's very clear that she had Europe protection in her heart as well.
Do you think if she was still in power, there wouldn't be war back then? She said that she lost contact with Putin actually during COVID.
You can't say, but certainly I think we'd probably be in a better position, but I can't say if it may, it's hard to say whether it's still happened or not. I mean, a lot of things you can't predict, but would she be a better leader than Germany's current leaders? Yes. Would she be better than Kaja Kallas? Yes, but then so would my cat.
Well, yes, she speaks Russian, you know, so it would be maybe better. Maybe. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk told reporters that handing over a Ukrainian suspect in the Nord Stream sabotage case to Germany is not in Poland's interest.
Yeah, let's just screw the rule of law when it's, not convenient. Here's where it comes into this, is that there have been no hard implications of Poland in this bombing plot, but the ship, the yacht which the Ukrainians were using, made several stops in Polish ports. There's been speculation that Poland, and again, there's no evidence to this whatsoever. This is pure speculation, that Poland may have been involved in this a little bit, helping Ukrainians. And all this does is generate more fuel around that fire. Poland should be like, listen, we may have wanted it to happen, but we're going to follow the rule of law. Germany is our partner. Germany is part of EU. We're going to we're going to hand the suspects over, let Germany handle it because we trust Germany.
They do not.
Okay, but that's the point. What's happening is we're seeing a split in Europe. And again, every time I say anything, people are like, Europe's not collapsing. I'm not saying Europe's collapsing, but there are political fractures happening here. Just like the president of Czech Republic has said he's not going to send I think it's Czech Republic, there's some elections in one of the countries.
Yeah.
And he said no more money going there. What people don't understand is the funding of Ukraine at the levels it's happening. They're having to raise the pension age in Germany. They're having to raise pension age in the UK, I believe. And it's going to fuel the rise of the far right, because what's happening is these leftist leaders, and again, I'm not taking left or right, but it's a reactionary thing. People, when the elections come, they're going to get rid of Macron, they're going to get rid of Starmer, they're going to get rid of Merz, they're going to get rid of these people. And the general alternative is going to be somebody to the far right, not a centrist.
Far right turn has been going on for years. Actually, it's not a new thing.
But this is going to
It's just
fuel it.
speeding up right now. Yeah, it's true. And that's what we see. And the problem is not just creation of this far right. Okay. The problem is most of them are populists.
Oh.
They're not going to solve their problems, because the core problems are, they've been there for years.
Mhm.
And that's the huge problem that I see. And even if this far right, some kind they are chosen, like in Italy, for example, she's from right wing, but look how she manages the policy of Italy. I'm not saying she's bad. I'm just saying she's not really implementing this kind of like right wing ideas that she came with too. So
She hasn't been the disaster that everybody predicted. I'm not saying she's fantastic or that. I'm not taking a position on Maloney. But I'm saying that they said if she won, she was going to be the Italian, what was the Italian guy? Not Hitler, but
Mussolini.
Mussolini, like, she's going to be a modern Mussolini. Oh, come on. I'm so sick of this rhetoric. And not only is she not that, but she's nowhere. She's, in fact, a more moderate than they had before. She's more centrist.
She's centrist. And that's the problem. Like, they use populism to come in power. Like, look what happened with Argentina. They chose a populist, and libertarians were so happy. Finally, libertarian, ruler of the country. And look where it ended. He created more crisis than it was before right now. So, yeah. Anyway, we see also protests in Georgia. We see this turmoil is shifting to Caucasus, this political instability.
Been a lot of Ukrainian involvement in those protests.
It's not only Ukraine. I've been there. I actually joined protests when we 2 weeks before I was there in Tbilisi, and we went to these protests, and there were lots of American flags, European flags, which, I mean, probably it makes sense because they want to join Western, part, maybe. I personally, I don't understand this, like why you go to protest in your country with foreign flags. I don't get it. We never did that here. I was in a position here. We came with our flags, maybe different ones. Somebody came with nationalistic, somebody came with communistic, etc. But we never. However, I was pro-Western in pro-Western movement. We never brought European Union flags. For which reason? I'm in my country.
What's crazy about the Georgia thing, though, is that a lot of the I'm not dissing the protests whatsoever. I want to be clear here, and I'm not saying fun, but there's a lot of foreign involvement in these. There's a lot of foreigners going there to do the protesting.
Yeah,
in Georgia.
Yeah,
and Ukraine has been involved. And I'm not saying that they're happening on here, but Ukraine has its own problems. Ukraine government has been linked to some small things of protests. The Ukraine government should just focus on its own problems.
That's the problem. Like Europe sees like Georgia is somehow under, this kind of authoritarian rule right now, and they're shifting to more pro-Russian or something like that. Partly it's true, but the point is Georgia there, it lives between Europe, between Muslim countries and Russia for centuries. And they managed to live there for so long and profit from all of them. And that's the best position I think they could have, not to go into conflict with their biggest neighbors, with Russia, but to stay neutral. I think that's the best.
Switzerland,
Yes.
how
Switzerland of
how Cyprus used to be and still most tries to be under the European Union thumb. Yes, that's our best practical thing. It's like Moldova. Moldova's best option, when you get 50.3% of the vote, 50.03, they're like, it's a mandate to join Europe. That's not a mandate.
Yeah.
That's a Civil War starter pack is what that is. Your best option is stay neutral. Don't piss off, because if you join the EU, you piss off half your population. If you get too close to Russia, you piss off the other half. Stay in the middle, man. Just
Milk
They-
both
yeah.
parts. And another thing people don't understand is also that Georgia is not like 100% they want to be Western. If you, in Tbilisi, yes, a lot of youth, of course, they're more like Western oriented. It makes sense. Like here, by the way, too, in big cities. But if you go to villages where half the population lives, if not more, most of them are pro-Russian. They're not, they don't want gays. They don't like all this kind of values, European values to be implemented. It's completely different people. And people don't see this. Absolutely.
because they don't want to see it, because to them, everything Russia is evil, and they can't believe anybody would want to ally with Russia. And anybody that does is obviously brainwashed or crazy or both. And that's not the truth. There are people with different opinions. And when you have a country that's about 50-50 or 40-40, you need to stay in the middle, because otherwise you basically set yourself up for
Anyway,
major
I
problems.
hope they're going to pass through this turmoil and they will not fall into Russian sphere so much also. They will be able to, keep their neutrality and profit from both and stay
Well,
this.
I'm not naive, but I also think that Russia wouldn't push on some of these countries so hard if people weren't pulling them so hard in the other direction. They would still want to be in their sphere of influence, but they wouldn't be pushing as hard if there wasn't such a pull. So what happens is you end up with countries like Ukraine, Moldova, that were kind of neutral, but and you end up with this escalation until they end up in the middle of a tug of war.
Oh, with Georgia, I think it's a completely different story. We have also long history with them, but it's a little bit different country than like Belarus or Ukraine. Completely different relations with them.
No,
Anyway,
absolutely, but it's the same power dynamic between the West and Russia.
no similar one.
The
Yeah,
West
everything that
sees
borders.
these as countries to use to weaken Russia without having to risk their own citizens, which is a real shame, especially the United States.
Yes, makes sense. Like Russia also interfered into Latin America so many times for the same reason. So,
I'm not saying it doesn't make sense, but I'm just saying that's the pity of the people who are in the middle.
so we discussed the most major news. Right now, let's go to our regional Russia-connected news. Ukraine cut ties with Nicaragua. Kiev officially severe diplomatic relations with Nicaragua after Managua became the first UN member to recognize Russia's newly annexed regions. It's mostly symbolic, but it highlights how Moscow continues to build small pockets of recognition outside of Western Bloc. That's what you say.
That's what Taiwan has been doing for years. That's why Taiwan is all over the Caribbean. That's why Taiwan has embassies all over, including St. Kitts, where, I'm essentially from now. There's a huge Taiwanese embassy there with dozens of full-time staff, and they've been there since independence in early 1980s. And they're there. And when I first moved to St. Kitts all those years ago, I was like, why is Taiwan here? They expecting help from our Navy? Navy is like a small boat, okay? No, the reason is UN votes. Every small Caribbean country has one vote in the UN. So Taiwan has made friends with all those small countries. And now China's trying. But a lot of those countries, like Taiwan's been here for 40 years, China. You're a little bit late, and we'll take money from you too, but we're friends with Taiwan. So you better cough up a lot of money.
I don't understand, how do you connect this story with Taiwan?
Because Taiwan needs votes in the UN against China. So the point is, by influencing, it's the same type of thing. You were talking about Russia as working with small countries because they get votes in the UN. It's the same play. Japan does the same thing for the Whaling Commission. Japan came and built fisheries all throughout the Caribbean. So when it came to the Whaling Commission, they would have friends in the Whaling Commission, and mysteriously they all voted with Japan when it came down to that.
You mean Russia is going to spread
Well, that's their intent. I'm not saying that.
influence in these small countries, so they're going to vote to recognize these territories?
Maybe not necessarily that, but vote with Russia on, sir. issues. It's a general type of thing.
Yeah, it's been going on for years, but
but Taiwan's the
first time when Nicaragua officially, it's the first country.
Yeah.
So let's see how it's going to be in the future. I wonder if other countries will see that an opportunity. I guess we will see how everyone will react, and if there will be no reaction, might be smaller countries, vote in the same way next time.
It's a Putin's secret plan to have Zelensky have a heart attack. Or Kaya Kallas.
So regarding SIM cards,
Oh, yeah.
travelers and expats across Russia found their mobile data suddenly cut off this week.
Yeah, so basically I'll shorten it up because it's a bit long there. So if you come to Russia with a foreign SIM card, your data is not going to work for the first 24 hours. And this actually kind of makes sense. Some of the restrictions I've talked about, I think could have been done better. This one actually makes kind of a lot of sense. First of all, there's free Wi-Fi almost everywhere here, or at least Wi-Fi available. The second thing is because the drones.
In subway?
There's free Wi-Fi in the subways.
No, but in order to sign for subway, you need to have phone number.
SMS, but you don't need data. SMS doesn't come across data. SMS comes across something different.
No, they come, but my boyfriend, he came here. I told you with the car.
But he came on a carrier.
US.
He came on a carrier which is sanctioned Russia. That's not related to this.
Anyway, his phone, his American phone didn't work here. And it's first time.
US, if you're coming from the US, only AT&T roams here because they're the only ones with point of presence here.
But it was working before. He came here after 2022 and it was working. It just right now.
But they didn't sanction right away. But I can tell you for the last, since I've been here in 2023, because my background's in telco with computer programming and other things too. AT&T is the only one with presence here from the American side. Mexico roams here, Turkey roams here. But what this law says is basically for foreign SIMs, your data, SMS will work, so you can still get free Wi-Fi there. The data will not work for the first 24 hours. And the reasoning behind this, and this actually makes a lot of sense, is the drones that are coming in are using SIMs and the data to navigate and receive instructions. The Ukrainians buy these cards abroad, so they're trying to limit that. And some of the restrictions I think have not been done well. This one, I think, at least in the midterm, is a worthwhile restriction. They can still make calls, still receive SMS, and Wi-Fi is widely available here.
There's just a huge problem. I was thinking, like, if people want to come to Russia, foreigners, they can't buy really number here right now because it's a long process.
That part's a different issue. I agree.
Get SIM card.
Getting a SIM card.
Your SIM card doesn't work for 24 hours. So you're at the airport.
That's not true. That's not true. Your data doesn't work. Your SMS works. So you can go to the metro, you can get a message and get free Wi-Fi. You can get Wi-Fi.
No, be realistic. You arrive to airport. Which metro? You are at airport. You need to exchange money. You need to know where to go. You cannot order a taxi because internet doesn't work.
Yes, you can order a taxi because there's the Yandex desk right there.
Yandex what?
The Yandex has a desk right there. They'll order a taxi for you on Yandex Go. In all the airports I've been to, even St. Petersburg. As soon as you come out of the arrivals hall, as soon as you're about to come through the last door, there's a desk right there for Yandex. You can go up and say, I need a taxi, they'll order for you. Right
in every airport of Russia.
Every airport I've been to, and I've been to like 18 cities in the last year. So yes, it's there. I agree with the pain in the butt, but it's not that bad because you can get the free Wi-Fi. And in some places, the Wi-Fi, you have limited Wi-Fi without registration as well. And I do agree it's too hard to get a Russian number.
Yeah.
That's new though. It used to be very easy. You walked in, you could even get a SIM card at the airport. They have made that too hard. They are trying to make that easier. They're going to make it easier, but right now that is a mess. I 100% agree with you there. But this data thing, I agree it's a good midterm measure, even though it causes less disruption than you think because of the drones.
Короче, guys, if you come to Russia, be ready.
Of course.
To exchange money in the beginning.
Yeah, of course.
That you will not have data.
And bring crisp bills. Bring new bills. Don't bring bills that are crinkly or whatever.
Even new bills, by the way. There's, they find some, stamps on it or something.
And bring the modern bills. Don't bring the 1980s bills without the,
Even modern, until new. They look at it
be careful.
wow.
Go to the bank and ask for brand new bills.
Without stamps, without any signs or anything like that. Because sometimes you see it's new bill, but they put it under this UV filter or whatever, and they see that there's something stamped on it and they don't take it.
Yep.
So yeah, it's so complicated nowadays. About economy. So I collected lots of data about economic slowdown here, and several indicators paint an increasingly bleak picture about Russian economy. PMI index dropped to 46.6, the lowest in 3 years. PMI index is Purchasing Managers Index. Russelmash, the biggest producer of agricultural machines, will cut production by 30%, citing high interest rates and weak farm demand. Fuel prices hit record highs. 92 benzene top.
I don't know why fuel's up. I have no idea why fuel costs more.
Yeah, we don't know. 74,000 per ton. Clothing and footwear brands keep shutting down. Industry leaders call the situation catastrophic. Together, these figures suggest real contraction in Russia's private sector. Also, industrial giants I don't know this word.
Furlough.
Factories.
Okay, furlough. It means to lay off.
Furlough.
Well, actually, furlough is not layoff. It's like a temporary. I think it's a temporary layoff.
The point is that they reduce hours for people and they
a lot of them are going to 4-day work weeks to try. Instead of firing people, they're trying to keep people employed, but they are reducing hours and it's impacting people's wages. It's a real thing.
Some people have to leave because it's too, it's slow. It's a little money. They need more and they can work like this. So companies like Kamaz, Avtovaz, Alrosa, Gas, some of the huge producers are scaling back operations as domestic demand slumps and exports stall.
When you sent this to me, I did some more digging into it. We're definitely seeing a slowdown in the Russian economy. It is a real thing. I compared it against, even with these slowdowns, the projections of, say, our economy versus Germany for the next 2 years. We're still looking at a small expansion, not the big expansions we saw in previous years.
Small expansion of what?
Like less than 1% per GDP.
You look at GDP, but you know that GDP is based on production, which is mostly works for war. If you look at real GDP, which is not war, will reduce all the war production. Yes, it's booming. It's true. That's what makes GDP grow, actually. But real production, it's going whether down or zero. It's not going at all. And that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, no, there is an issue here. I'm not doubting that. But we're still better off than the projections for Germany. So my only point here is, yes, it's a real issue. We need to be cautious. We need to be concerned about it. But the West is reporting this as, finally, Russia's collapsing. It's not collapsing. Is it stagnation? Yes.
Yeah, it's stagnation. Didn't see right now about collapse. They became more like, how to call it? Careful with words nowadays. But they, point that it's going into stagnation phase. Sugar prices may rise, you see, by 20. National Waste Reform Operator warns tariffs could jump up to 10-fold without new recycling capacity. And lawmakers proposed food assistance certificates for low-income families. That's a good thing, actually.
Yeah, we should have had this a while ago. We should have had this a while ago.
Yeah.
I don't know actually what's available in Russia if people need it, but it seems like this is something we should have had even before.
They were supposed to do this actually during COVID.
So yes, very welcome.
The problem is that they based the number of it based on minimum wage. Minimum wage is too slow. It's like 30% of minimum wage will go to these cards, which is like minimum wage in St. Petersburg is like 20,000 rubles. So they will get like 6,000 worth of food is nothing if they're going to do this way. But let's see.
It's between nothing and something, but I agree. Yeah, it's not enough, but
it's better than nothing.
Better than nothing, but I agree. No, and I agree. Economy, it's a slowdown. We need to watch it, but it's not catastrophic yet. But it's definitely slowdown and stagnation.
That's stagnation, that's... Matvienko. Valentina Matvienko, Federal Council Speaker, suggests that every Russian should personally contribute to the National Health Insurance System, OS, instead of relying fully on employer or state funding. So she wants us, those who don't work officially or don't work at all, pay like something like 48,000 rubles per year to OMS. Like I personally am not employed in Russia. So she wants me to pay from my pocket every year, 48,000. From you to you're officially not employed here. Do you agree with that?
No, actually, I have some limited employment here. I'm not an employee anywhere, but I do some contract work here and there. It's not a lot.
It doesn't count.
It does
you have to be employed and you don't pay this tax.
It's under IP. We pay the taxes under IP. So we do pay a contribution.
Yeah, then you pay like, if you have a business. But there are many people who are not employed. And if she will do this, Jesus Christ.
Well, I am mixed on this. She's right. We do need to distribute it, but we need to not increase any one segment too much to put too much stress on anybody. But should the load be shared? Probably. But they need to be careful how they do it. And you can't change any system too quickly. You can't put too heavy of a burden on anybody out of nowhere.
That's the point. Like, there was a silent agreement between society and the state here. Like, society, we do not interfere into your business, and you don't interfere into ours. So if we overcome somehow taxes, you don't touch us, because we already get not like a lot of money to survive. So, okay, they close their eyes on our stuff with taxes. We don't pay them much, for example, and we do not rebel. So this thing, her proposal, actually breaks this kind of agreement. If they're gonna tax people more, because they just keep talking about increasing taxes recently. Then you see like they increased VAT, they increased this kind of fines for cars, 300%. Anyway, yeah, it's coming. This one is not this year too. So if they're going to interfere in the usual people's life that much, it might lead to huge, this turmoil in the society itself. People will not like it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
They are creating like this kind of revolutionary situation here. Ну что, hidden gems. Hornbill.
Oh, they
Tell
found
a
it.
story about.
Oh, yeah. So they tried tranquilizing, they tried baiting it. They couldn't get any of it. They were shooting with darts. They kept missing. Finally, some lady with a net caught it.
So during our last episode, we say that there's hornbill that ran away from the zoo.
Yeah.
And the whole St. Petersburg was searching for this poor bird.
I have a bird map of his tour around the city now. Yeah, a bird map, and I have videos of him capturing, so it's going to go up, and he's and he was not happy. But then he's back at the zoo, and now his mate is really happy.
Who got him?
Some lady, I think she was in the zoo. She's got a big net, and literally walked up and put the net over him. They're shoving him into a car. He's like, I'm not going into the car.
The whole city was watching his travel. And I even read that they shot him with tranquilizers, and he still flew away. I was like, what the hell? How did they manage to do that? Anyway, this situation ended up with happy ends. We are so happy. Good changes. End of automatic subscription renewals in Russia. They pushed a new law. So right now, online platforms will be banned from auto-renewing paid subscriptions without user consent. That's a very good thing.
This is a plague in the West, too.
Yeah.
Especially in the United States.
Especially in Apple.
Yeah, especially in the U.S., because the U.S. has all consumer protection laws in the U.S. are a joke compared to Europe or Russia. And so it's a huge problem in the U.S. You sign up for a service and then they bill you forever. You don't even know about it. And they make it almost impossible to cancel. It's like you have to beg them or hire a lawyer to get canceled. So the basic law is every year. So if I sign up for something like Yandex or Ozon or Plus or whatever, at the next year, if they want me to renew, they're going to have to be like, it's time to renew. Do you want to renew? Yes or no? And I have to click yes. So this is a very good thing.
Yeah.
And I think that other countries should adopt this as well. I think a lot of people don't realize that Russian consumer protection laws in comparison, especially to America and Canada, but even to a lot of Europe, are very strong in Russia.
No, actually, yeah, that's true. It's that's why lots of businessmen are very angry here, because they cannot abuse. But at the same time, there are a lot of actually people who abuse these rules too, Yeah, customers.
But I think that, to be honest, I think most of the consumer protection laws we have, most of the ones I've seen and so forth, they really do make a lot of sense. They are really, truly protect the consumer. And I think they're balanced with business the best that they can be. In some countries they can be, but I think here there's something I think Russia does quite well.
Yeah, I can agree on that too. So we have an incident with shooting. It was close to me, by the way. So Reno.
Is this the mushrooms?
No.
No, not the mushrooms?
No, wait for mushrooms. Okay. Not the other mushrooms.
Okay, tell me. Okay, I won't
Renowned metro architect Alexander Sokolnitsky was shot dead in the center of St. Petersburg. Investigators say the suspect had recently returned from the war in Ukraine, raising concerns about veterans, reintegration, and post-trauma violence. So apparently, from what I read, this guy who shot the architect owed him some money.
So it wasn't, I'm not justified, but it wasn't random either. It wasn't
random.
Okay.
He went directly there to kill him. They knew each other. The point is, yes, this is really a concern, because you know how hard it is in Russia to get firearm, whatever. And these people, unfortunately, somehow get it. And
Yeah, and he was a renowned architect because he designed several of the metro
stations.
When the metro stations are remodeled, he designed their model, and some of them were really nice, like Gorkastaya. That's a pretty cool metro station. So he was a respected architect, not just any architect, but he's well respected.
Yeah. He was working with Gazprom or something like that. And this made for me so personal because it's so close to my home. I shot him like literally like few streets away from my home, and I was like, damn. This is coming to me. I'm
not going to downplay this at all, but when I did read this, I wasn't sure if it was random or not. So it's still very sad. I'm glad it wasn't just a random incident. But also compared to what happens in the U.S.
We don't need to compare. Need to, in the US, there's a law that allows you to buy any stuff in the shop.
Yeah.
Here, it's so hard, and still this happens. And it actually raised the question, we need to do something with these guys who return back. It's a real issue. We need to talk about post-trauma, you know.
But I don't know if that was the case in this. I know there have been other cases where it was the case.
Yeah.
This seemed like he owed us money and he was willing to choose violence for it.
Yeah, he wasn't also a great person. He had some frauds there before he went to war.
But I fully agree with you that the people returning from the war, we do need a support system for them psychologically and otherwise. Whatever side of the war you're on, people returning from war, they need the support.
Definitely.
If not for them, for their families, for society. You know, the U.S. kind of learned its lesson after Vietnam, and I hope that somehow we will have a support system for people who return.
Which is, is kind of interesting because there was never this supportive system in Soviet Union, and we struggle with that so much. But I see these talks right now. People talk about it, and I'm not talking about random people. I mean, people who are in government talk about this, that we need to do, not to work in this direction, to help them, to provide this psychological help to people, and people who volunteer right now, I mean, like I know these guys who I travel with to Mariupol, this organization, it's not a governmental organization. They provide these services also, they create, so it's a volunteering job they do to help these guys who return back, to help them to solve the problems legally. So society, civil society by themselves also see this problem and they want to manage it. So it's not like they don't talk about it anymore. Like what you see on Twitter when they shout, they're going to have this and they're going to have that.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to reiterate that I saw a post on X. It's like, anybody who continues to describe Russia as a Soviet Union and doesn't know the difference should not be listened to at all. And they're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Russia is not the Soviet Union. Russia was not the Soviet Union when it was a Soviet Union. And modern Russia is not the Soviet Union whatsoever.
Modern Russia is not even Russia of the 90s. It's another talk. Like every period, it's so different from the previous. You cannot judge based on previous times, really. It's changing. Mushrooms. Your favorite story?
I love mushrooms. And not the happy ones. I love the mushrooms. I love the flavor of mushrooms.
In St. Petersburg, two mushroom sellers got into fight over trading territory near Udelnaya metro station. One of them, a 44-year-old man from Krasное Selo, fired a blank shot from a Pioneer pistol. Where did he get it? Into the air and fled.
Pioneer pistol, is this like a BB gun or a 22 or something?
I don't know. It's just something old.
Okay. Anyways, so yeah, we have these, we told you, people go to the forest, collect mushrooms, and they come and they sell them near the metro stations or markets because they're wild mushrooms. You can't grow these, you can't farm these things. And I guess one was in the spot that the other said this is a prime mushroom selling spot. And so they got mad at each other and in the air, a blank. So mushrooms is a serious thing here. The mushroom mafia.
See, they even shoot each other. Okay, not each other, but in the air.
Still not accused, but yeah. So.
He now faces administrative charges for hooliganism. Yeah, there is an article for that in Russia. Russia starts building banana greenhouses. The Agriculture Ministry announced the launch of the country's first industrial banana greenhouses.
With diplomatic support from Nicaragua.
I don't think that. No, we are going to be competed so no.
Russian bananas.
Actually, I'm wondering how they're going to do this. It's so fascinating for me. I would love to visit even.
Well, if you go to the Botanic Gardens here in St. Petersburg, they have banana trees in there.
They have, but did you see bananas there?
Yeah.
I didn't.
I was there last week or two ago. There's bananas there, yeah. And not only that, but down by the airport, there's a big mall there now, but there used to be a hot houses there. And they used to grow tomatoes and all kinds of stuff in the winter. So probably what they'll do is there'll be greenhouses in the southern parts of Russia, and they'll be heated and they'll grow bananas.
I'm just wondering how much it's going to cost. I
They'll use nuclear power.
I think these bananas that come from Ecuador, most of our bananas will be still way cheaper than what they grow here.
A lot of our bananas come from Africa.
Most of them come from Ecuador. It's even on the label, you can see. I've never seen here from Africa.
I've seen it from Africa.
Where? I want to try this.
I don't know, but we've seen them. The thing is, most people don't realize that bananas are like apples, but most people have only ever had one banana. They only know the Cavendish banana because it's one clone, and that's why the bananas are being close to wiped out, because the Gros Michel was wiped out in the 50s or 60s. And the Gros Michel was a much better banana, but they had to reclone a new banana, which is the Cavendish, which everybody eats. But when you live like I did in the Caribbean, you'll learn there's bananas. We had dozens of kinds of bananas in the Caribbean. We go to the store and there were bananas, like silk figs are among my favorites, but silk figs are very hard to ship because when they're ripe, the peels actually split open. The peels are very thin, like on a Cavendish, it's thick. On a silk fig, this is what's the local St. Kitts name. It's very thin. It's like a piece of paper almost, and they split open and they're but it's like banana pudding.
So maybe they are going to...
If you've never had a real banana, you've only had Cavendish your whole life, you're missing out because there are tons of bananas.
So maybe they're going to grow different types that we cannot ship.
I don't know, but it'd be certainly nice if they grew at least some.
I would really love to visit and see that, really.
Yeah.
In the Leningrad region, a woman tired of the noise at construction site got the migrants to do yoga.
She did it. She went. I said she doesn't want to do
That's...
So they're doing some construction near her, where she lives. And so she went down, and during lunch, she taught them, she said, convinced them to do it too. She's like, and these were migrant workers. So for Americans, like we have people from the stands, they're like your people from Mexico and things. And they work on our construction industry and so forth. And she went down and got them to do yoga during the lunch hour. So she's down there like, okay, do that downward dog, I don't know, whatever.
Fascinating. That's all for today we have. We are going to end up with yoga and...
bananas, yogas, and mushrooms.
Bananas and yogas. Regarding bananas, by the way, this week I went to Vavilov Garden. This is the center of Russian genetics. You know, this, how they call it, I don't know, genetics, botanists, or how they're called, I don't know exactly. Biologists, right, who create our seeds and fill our seed banks for doomsday. So I saw how they grow grapes here in the northern climate. They are right now developing different types of grapes that might grow here. And we tried it even. I went with my daughter because my daughter, she goes to this kind of Yunata, you know, they return back the Soviet tradition of, it's called in Russian, юные натуралисты. I don't know how it's in English. It translates very funny. It's young naturalists in English, but I think it's not something you're familiar with. It's basically like, I don't know, like Boy Scouts and Boy Scouts. They learn about nature. So she goes to this special building where she learns about dogs.
Cocoa stacks.
I don't know. Do you have any?
No.
It's like this in the US. I don't know. Like kids study about nature and study about biology. They go to, like in this case, we went with the biology department to their garden that kids planted in spring, and we've got the results. We saw different kinds of ancient even plants to compare with what genetics did, how they changed it, you know, from wheat, for example, wheat that was in ancient times and right now.
Said wheat, not weed, right?
Yes, wheat. Wheat also they have the biggest collection.
That's why some of the kids are like, I'm signing up for this summer camp.
That's the funniest part. I knew that in English it's not called wheat, it's called...
The Russian government can't figure out why it's so popular. It's like, why are all these kids signing up for this botany camp? They like, make botany great again. And the kids are like...
Okay, they have the biggest collection of konopля. In English, it's how it's called, something with H you call it, but it's basically, it's basically weed actually.
Cannabis?
Well, it's not cannabis. It's cannabis actually. Yeah. So they have all kinds of them, and they
hemp. You mean hemp?
Yes,
hemp.
Yes, and they send all the seeds to this World Bank or in Spitsbergen, you know, Svalbard you call it. And it's there. It's ours. You see, our people here. So how was your week?
working, just resting before surgery and trying to, turn code into money.
I guess next week or when you are scheduled for surgery.
Yeah, I'm still available next week.
Next week we're still gonna have, and then we'll have to take a break for your recovery. I hope everything will be fine here. Our surgeons are great.
And I'm going to a research hospital. It's one of the top. That's why it took me a little bit longer to get a place, because I'm here at a unicorn document and going to a research facility. So if I went to a normal hospital, as Russian, it would be faster. But even then, it's like I said, I waited 2 or 3 years in the United States for the surgery when I was hurt. But I was 19 when I had the surgery before. I'm 50. What here is it? 51 now. And this time it's a more invasive, because last time they just went in and they took a little bit of my disc off. This time they're taking the disc away and doing a spinal fusion with a titanium implant. So it's a bigger surgery, and I'm older. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, looking forward to this. But
let's hope for the best. And we still have time next week to discuss news.
So
thank you for joining us today. Again, don't forget to like the video, leave your comments, any questions too. We will be glad to answer them.
we would have a comment section. We have a comment section of our videos if we had comments.
Yes.
We'll talk about the best comment, and which could be the only comment, but
the only comment we've got today. We've got comments.
okay.
Thank you guys. Thank you for joining us, and пока-пока.